Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here, and you are very welcome, my friends. So Wonder Woman 1984 has been confirmed not to be a sequel to Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman. What? What does that mean? Let's have a look and see what they say on this article right here. But Wonder Woman 1984 producer Charles Roven, yeah, he's still around, the veteran producer behind Justice League, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, Suicide Squad, the Dark Knight trilogy, and yes, Wonder Woman, would like those fans to know that they are wrong. Wonder Woman 1984 is by no means a sequel to the previous Wonder Woman installment. And according to him, Jenkins herself would like to avoid any perception of the S word. She was just determined that this movie should be the next iteration of Wonder Woman, but not a sequel, Roven tells Vulture. She's definitely delivering on that. It's a completely different time frame, and you'll get a sense of what Diana/Wonder Woman had been doing in the intervening years. But it's a completely different story that we're telling, even though it will have a lot of the same emotional things, a lot of humour, a lot of brave action, tugs at the heartstrings as well. Jenkins, who is currently holed up in London and about 25% of the way through post-production on 84, which is set that year and features Chris Pine wearing a fanny pack, was unavailable to confirm or deny Roven's assessment. Well, she doesn't need to. He's the bloody producer, isn't he? However, a source close to the director told Vulture that Jenkins does indeed envision this latest Wonder Woman installment as a strike against sequelitis. Oh dear. It's a standalone film in the same way that Indiana Jones or Bond films are, instead of one continuous story that requires many installments. At Comic-Con last year, Jenkins similarly made clear that her continued involvement in the franchise was far from a cynical cash grab. I never want to do more of anything for the wrong reason, Jenkins said. We can make a whole new movie about something completely new and as unique in its own right as the first one. That's it, everyone. So that's very interesting, isn't it? I thought I'd read that out to you. Now we need to discuss it. It's not very dramatic, basically. It just means it's a new adventure. Listen, this is a sequel. Now, what's very interesting, I mean, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, on its own merits, a story on its own merits. You've got Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom. I think one of those adventures is actually set before Raiders as well. So that's interesting. So what they're kind of saying here is this is a new adventure. They're not going to hark back to what happened in that film. But the thing is, with Chris Pine in it as Steve Trevor, there's surely some kind of continuing kind of muscle there, isn't there? So without us knowing too much about the film, my theory is this, that this film is a massive film. It's already a massive film, but I do believe that this kind of resets the universe a little bit. Maybe not dramatically, but there's so many things that I've heard, and I'm sure that you heard. Grace Randall's video, who's actually now blocked me on Twitter, we won't go into that, but Grace Randall's whole video where she was saying there's going to be some kind of flashpoint situation in this was a very interesting thing. And it wasn't long after that they delayed the release of this movie. Again, very, very interesting. Were they trying to do something like that and decided against it? Went back and did something else? Nobody knows that. But let's look at what Roven's saying. It's not a sequel. It's a story in its own right. It's very similar to the way James Bond films used to be made, because the Daniel Craig Bonds, they've got continuing muscle. They're probably linked together. But before that, they weren't really continuing. They were obviously in the same universe and all that. So this is interesting. What they're saying is this is just a standalone adventure. But this could go beyond Wonder Woman. Maybe DCEU films now will be very individual. Maybe that's what Kevin Sugihara meant when he said we're not going to be as shared as we first planned to be. So it is a shared universe. They're all in the same universe, but even the films will have very standalone elements to them. So maybe even with the Aquaman film, maybe that won't be a sequel as well. So when you look at the 4 trilogy, right, you've got the first one, you've got the second one, which again pretty much continues, right? Jane's still kind of not with 4, so that continues. And then you've got 4 Ragnarok. Again, it continues off the same threads, right? But what they're saying with Wonder Woman 1984 is this film is not a continuing story. It's a story on its own. Now, is this just double talk? Is it basically just a sequel with its own story, right? Or is it beyond that? Is this film actually, this is a theory, right? Could this film plausibly be set before the first Wonder Woman? Now that's nuts, right? That's crazy. Mick, how can that be possible? Well, it will be difficult actually. This is a crap theory, by the way. But no, just bear with me, right? Think about it, right? Say somehow she's still on Themyscira at the start of Wonder Woman 1984. Somehow she time travels from the island and lands in 1984. This could actually explain how Steve Trevor is still alive. Now, right, how does this explain her not knowing him in the first movie? Well, there could be some kind of amnesia, something that wipes her mind by the time she gets back to her own time on Fantasy Island. It's a bit weird. So actually, what could actually happen is this, that things start to change, right? Imagine, right? The Germans, the Nazis invade Themyscira, right? Fantasy Island. And before she meets Steve Trevor the first time, she goes back to 1984 before she's actually met him. And he seems to be there, but they haven't met yet, so he doesn't die. So it could be a really weird, timey-wimey movie. What do you think about that, everyone? I think that's that's not actually as bad a crapper theory that I actually think. Think about it. So what do you think? Is it plausible, as insane as it sounds, that Wonder Woman 1984, in fact, is set before the first Wonder Woman? And it's some insane, timey-wimey movie where she actually goes to 1984 before she meets Steve Trevor on the island. And by the end of the movie, she goes back to the island. So it kind of means she doesn't meet any of the other heroes from the DCEU. It means she hasn't met him yet. And when she gets back there, either the timeline has changed and she'll remember him, right? Or, right, she just basically, she goes back there and it's just total amnesia. But how the amnesia would work, I don't know. I think it's a really, really plausible idea. I know you're going to put lots of plot holes in this. So what do you think? Are you happy that Wonder Woman 1984 will not be a sequel? What do you think of my insane theory? I think it's pretty plausible. And in fact, why it's plausible is it's a really good, reasonable explanation why Steve Trevor is still alive. That means he hasn't cheated death. That means the fans are not upset because that was a heroic death. A lot of people are, look, listen, I just want to see Chris Pine, Steve Trevor. I'm not fussed like the other fans, right, some of you lot. But I would think with the theory that I have, it keeps everything to how it is. And maybe a few things change because she time travels, maybe she changes some elements, right? There's some kind of robust time volcano, if you like, that changes a few things within the DCEU. So time travel could be a really reasonable explanation, which means it's not a sequel, because she actually has this adventure before she has her first Wonder Woman movie adventure. Very, very interesting. But is it plausible? Comment down below. Please like, share, and subscribe, because I think we're having fun here. Well, I am anyway.